Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Witch Hat Atelier. Last time around we had the misgivings of the Knights Morales, where, sure enough, the Knights Morales were harassing 12-year-old girls, and then they were stopped by Tetia and Riche, and eventually Keyfree and Orugio as well. And they were like, oh, well, clearly your 12-year-old girl is a terrorist. And everyone was like, well, that's just stupid. And so eventually they had to leave. But Keyfree did his own investigating and figured out that the ink vial that Coco was using was a twinned vial. So basically it had the same contents as another vial, which the brimmed cap guy had injected some of his blood into, which caused her spells to go out of control. So yeah, and when he was investigating this with Noel Noah was like, we gotta tell someone, we gotta report this, and so Keyfree erased his memories. So, yeah. We also learned that Tarta has color blindness, so he cannot make it as a witch like everyone else, because he cannot differentiate colors. So, kind of sad. Hey-ho. That's pretty much it. That was where we left off. So, like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right into this episode of Witch Hat Atelier. Here we go. Alrighty. Episode 9. So we got 4 episodes left? Of this season, at least, so... Oh boy. I do like that that Agate, with as much haste as she probably, well, more than she probably would have, but, well, maybe not, I don't know. Just very quickly went to go get Keyfree, because, yeah, that's a fever and a half right there, so, oh boy. Oh, gotta get your sleep. I mean, there might be something more that's, you know, giving Coco that fever, but you gotta get your sleep, you know? You gotta get your sleep and not get attacked by a terrorist in the middle of the night, too. That also, getting attacked by a terrorist in the middle of the night is not very conducive to sleeping, let me tell you. So, oh, God, I remember. There was one night, I'll give you a little story about sleep. First off, I'm a terrible sleeper. I'm horrible. Now, okay, I'm horrible about getting to sleep. Like, I cannot get to sleep by myself to save my life, you know? But once I fall asleep, I stay asleep, pretty much. And even if I, like, wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I can come back to bed, and then I conk out immediately, pretty much. So, when I get to sleep, I can stay asleep. But getting to sleep is the problem. And I remember... probably one of the worst nights I've ever had was it had just snowed outside, and I didn't have these curtains back here over this window, and so there was pretty much light reflection from the snow pouring into my room. And so I went to bed at, like, let's say 11 o'clock. I was still awake at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was so tired. I was so miserable, but I just could not go to sleep. And I have sleeping pills, actually. I actually have to drug myself pretty much every night. I currently take ZQuil, which is essentially just Benadryl, but I used to take 2 tablets when I went to bed. Now, I go to bed, and then if I can't sleep, I take 1 tablet, one little pill, and then if I still can't sleep, then I take another one, but you don't go past 2, so it's at least something, but yeah, I have trouble sleeping, yeah, that was 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock, that was 5 hours, I could not go to sleep, and eventually, though, I finally fucking did. And I went to sleep, and I got up at, I think, 8 o'clock that morning, and I was so tired. I was so tired. and I had to record that day. So if you actually go back to the season 2 finale of Attack on Titan, you will see me at my most tired. And also, the only other thing I filmed that day was an episode of JoJo, but I can't remember what episode that was now. So yeah, get your sleep is what I'm trying to say. Do your best to get your sleep. And yeah, and it's true that even when I have to take like ZQuil, when I get up, I'm still pretty tired, but it's just kind of how it is now. It's just kind of how I've accepted where I am in my life. So, but I need it. I genuinely do need it. Now, I'm sure it's not good that I have to do that, but I don't know. But I've been terrible about falling asleep my entire life. So get your sleep. Get your sleep. Kiefer needs his sleep. Coco needs her sleep. So, anywho. Now let's actually talk about the episode. Interesting thing with the tests, because you'd think the tests wouldn't, like, because the whole thing is like, oh, well, magic is supposed to be fun, So if we make our apprentices suffer the whole time, then they're not going to... That's kind of antithetical to what magic is. So the tests are designed to be adventurous, And I find that really interesting, considering how rigid witch society is, Like, they're not very accommodating. You do have to pass these tests. You have to hide your magic from humans. If you do show your magic to humans, you have to erase their memories. You can't even use healing magic. Healing magic does exist. You cannot use it because of these pacts. And there are police officers who, if they suspect, without any evidence or anything, that you may not be doing good things with magic, they will erase your entire existence, And yet, they have these 5 tests that are meant to be adventurous. They're supposed to get you out into the world and make you adventurous. That seems odd for this world, But yeah, and so I was talking about during the OP, the differences and the similarities with the girls, and I do really like that, especially with Tetia and Riche, because the two of them, this could have fallen into a trap of the two of them are more just side characters, and so they're not as developed as Coco and I guess Agate, because Agate is very prominent in this show. So they could have just been the other girls at the atelier. I like they're not. I like they are very defined, And yeah, so we have very different, views of all 4 of them, For Agate, she wants to be an adult right now, and she wants to be a librarian. And it's interesting to hear that her family, basically every generation, they have librarians at what was it, the Tower of Tomes. So she wants to do that because she wants to pretty much prove to her family that she can do that. We've obviously seen just that little iota of her backstory that, she's very clearly a disappointment to her mother. And so she, wants to undo that, basically, to prove her wrong, basically, and prove that she is just as good as any of them. And to do that, it means to become a librarian at the Tower of Tomes, So she's ready to be an adult. She wants to, do all of these things. She wants to pass all the tests, because these tests prove that you are an adult, basically. It proves that you are a success, Agate is the kind of person who will, play a video game to completion to get all the achievements, just to be like, here, you're not a real gamer. You didn't get all the achievements in Dark Souls 3, So that's the thing. Whereas Riche is interesting because she also kind of has this, I would say, more negative view, but negative in a different way. I guess what it comes down to is that for Agate, she very clearly hates herself, you know? She clearly hates herself and wants to make herself better by what the world does, you know, by the world's standards. Whereas with Riche, she doesn't hate herself. She clearly hates the world and says, fuck the world, I'm not going to do it their way, you know? So they have very different views on it. You know, Riche will play, 500 hours in... she'll play, a game like Dark Souls 3 for 500 hours and get maybe 25% of the achievements. And that's just because she happened to do those things, you know? But she played 500 hours in them, so yeah, she did. She's not doing everything that was laid out for her like Agate did, but she spent those 500 hours well, in her mind. So that's sort of the difference here. Is that it's very much a difference in, well, pretty much in how you view yourself, And I'm relating it to video games because I can. The funny thing is, it's kind of funny relating it to achievements in video games because I don't give a shit about video game achievements, but I also mostly game on Nintendo consoles and they don't have achievements. I do have a Steam Deck and there are Steam achievements. I don't care. I'm kind of like Riche. I'm more of a fuck the world, not fuck me, Let me know down in the comments who you're closer to, Then we have Tetia, who's more of a everyone's great. She's just a happy one, But she is trying to make people happy. So she wants to make. I guess you could say a crowd pleaser. You could say, but she also wants to make herself happy. So it's not just. So it's not exactly that. It's a very separate thing from what Riche and Agate are going through. So yeah. So she wants to make everyone happy. It's interesting because I guess her comparison is to Coco, who they both see the beauty, the magic, you could say, in magic, But they do kind of see it in a different way, I guess, a little bit. I mean, here's the thing is Coco would be there with her, She would probably be there with her of, magic makes me happy, and I want other people to be made happy by magic, But I'm assuming that but she can't really do that because she has a very specific goal, to save her mother. So it's a bit different for her, but still. Her goals are more plot-oriented, whereas the others they're just their natural life goals. So yeah. But it's an interesting thing, especially contrasting Riche with Agate, and with Agate saying it's like, oh well, if you don't do these things that make you uncomfortable, then you're never going to learn anything new, and Riche being like, all right, fuck it, I don't need to learn those things then if I'm not going to be happy while I do it, So it's a very interesting thing, just seeing their two different views on the world, and I definitely do see the comparison of. Riche is definitely if Himmel and Freerun actually had a kid. It's just like, yeah, there's a lot. There's some Himmel in there, but there is a lot of Freerun too. Because that's the thing is Freerun kind of looks around at those tests and stuff, and it's just like, who the fuck? Who cares? Whereas like that was a thing in the mage exam. Yeah, when Richter, or I guess Richter, I think that was what they actually called him. Was like, oh, you get all the prestige of being a first-class mage, and Freeman was like, I'm 1,000 years old. I don't give two fucks, So that's the thing. It's a very much a difference in how you view magic, the world, and yourself. So yeah, but not to say that Agate does not care about anything or others, I suppose. She does care about Coco enough to go get Keyfree when she fucking passes out with a fever. So, and I do like that moment where Agate's just like, I don't understand you. I don't understand. What are you plotting with all of this? And it's just like, she's not plotting anything. I guarantee there's kittens running through her head, Like, she's not plotting anything. Like, with, not telling Keyfree that Agate forced her to do the data range test. And everything is like, no, she's not plotting anything. She just doesn't well, A, she doesn't care, and B, she wants to be your friend. You know? I don't think Agate has a concept of the word friend yet. You know, to her, the other girls, they're just the other students, basically. So, maybe the real Atelier was the friends we made along the way. So, yeah. So that was interesting. And then Tarda, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what's going on there. So he's gonna ask Kiefer, and Kiefer's gonna be like, "Ooh, I missed a loose end." Oh boy. Hopefully not, but I mean, I guess he could just erase that specific part of the memory. Because you guys were speculating in the last episode that, like, perhaps instead of just being time-based with the memory erasure, it is just specific things. So, like, Noah, he probably remembers that Kiefer came there, that Kiefer and Coco came there, but he doesn't remember the vial and the big flash of light that he was going to report to, you know, the Knights Morales and stuff. So, if anything, Kiefer probably could just erase that specific part of Tarda's memory, and then everything would be all fine and good. So, it is really weird, though, that, you know, because Tarda has to catch the ferry to go home, and they're like, well, why don't you just fly over there? And it's like, oh, well, because he's got the silver wash that he can't fly. And it's like, but if you're just using, you know, black ink, basically, black ink, you just have to make the symbols in order to fly. It's just like, that means the witching world is very unaccommodating, which is they will give you nothing if you cannot see colors, you know? Even though you could probably be a pretty decent witch in black and white, you know? But they just don't do that. They don't roll like that. They don't have, you know, accessible classes, basically. So what are you gonna do? But yeah. But another good episode. And I'm curious to see where we are going next time. But that is basically it. With all of that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Witch Hat Atelier reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.